Today we talked about elapsed time, which is the time between the beginning and the end of something. Whenever you do this, there's a format that's probably always the best to use. You have your start time, your end time, and then your elapsed time. And I'll show you how this works depending on what kind of problem you're doing. So let's say that we're doing a problem that we start at 11:24 a.m. and we end at 2:47 p.m. So I've set it up in this type of format. We've got the start, we've got the end, start and end. We need to find the time in between, okay? Well, it's always best to count your hours first. So if you've got your hours, you've got 11:24 to 12:24, that's 1. 12:24 to 1:24, that's 2. And then 1:24 to 3:24, or to 2:24 is 3. So the first place we're going to go is to 2:24. That right there is 3 hours. And then from 2:24, this part depends on how you see it. Some people might go from 2:24 to 2:30, which is 6 minutes. And then from 2:30 to 2:47, which is 17 minutes. You could have also went from 2:24 to 2:44, which would have been 20 minutes, and then 2:44 to 2:47, which would have been 3 minutes. Either way, you're going to get the same answer, just two ways of seeing it. Then you put your elapsed time together. 3 hours, and then 17 and 6 makes 23 minutes. So if you start something at 11:24 a.m. and you end something at 2:47 p.m., it's going to take you 3 hours and 23 minutes to finish it. Let's do another one like that. Let's say we're starting at 3:35 p.m. and we're ending at 6:09 p.m. Okay, 3:35, count your hours first. 3:35, 4:35, 5:35. We can't go to 6:35, so we're going to go to 5:35 first, which is 2 hours. Okay, and then from here, we're trying to get from 35 to here. I would probably suggest going from 5:35 to 6, which is 25 minutes, which again, you can do it your way. If you see something different, do it that way. 25 minutes, and then from 6 to 6:09, which is 9 minutes. And you just put these together, 2 hours, and then 25 and 9 makes 34 minutes. So if you start here and you end here, it took you this long. Okay, now we also did some problems where they gave us the start time and the elapsed time, but you had to figure out when you finished. So I'm going to use the same format up here to solve it, just a different thing that we're actually solving for. So let's say that the start time is 8:49, so I'm going to put it up here at the top, and the elapsed time is 5 hours and 20 minutes. So that's what goes over here. Okay, we're trying to find what time we stop. So again, we're going to do the hours first. So we're going to count 5 hours. That means we've used this over here. So 8:49, 9:49, 10:49, 11:49, 12:49, 1:49. Okay, then we're going to do 20 minutes. Well, most people, you can't go just from 1:49, 20 minutes and know exactly where you're going. So cut this 20 minutes into chunks. Let's do 10 minutes. Which means it's going to be 1:59. So we've used 10 of our 20 minutes, which means we have 10 minutes left. Now we're going to use one more minute to get us just to a straight 2 o'clock, meaning we have 9 minutes left. And then use our last 9 minutes, putting us at 2:09 as our end time. Okay, let's do the same exact format, except now we're going to try to find the start time when the end time is given. So they're saying that the end time is 8:27 p.m. and the elapsed time is 4 hours and 13 minutes, and they want to know what time we started. Okay, so even though time always moves forward, you have to think about this question as going backwards. So again, we're still going to do our hours first. So if we go back 4 hours, 8:27, 7:27, 6:27, 5:27, 4:27. Okay, so we've used the 4 hours. Now we've got to go back 13 minutes. Let's go back 10 first, leaving us with 3. That would be 4:17. And then we can go back our last 3, leaving us with 4:14 as our start time. Again, you could have done both of these steps in one step. That's fine. But some people need them broken apart, and I want you to know that you can break any step apart if you need to make it a little easier and smaller for you. So this is part of what we've done today. These questions like this would be a question that asks something like, if little Susie left her house at 11:24 to go to lunch and got back at 12:47 from going to lunch, how long was she gone for lunch? Well, 3 hours and 23 minutes. Or if little Sally started her homework at 3:35 and ended her homework at 6:09, she worked on homework for 2 hours and 34 minutes. Or maybe it might say, trying to think of a boy name. I'll just say Brian. If Brian woke up at 8:49 in the morning and hung around the house for 5 hours and 20 minutes, what time did he actually leave the house? 2:09 in the afternoon. Okay, so these are the kind of questions. This is one chunk of time that you're going from the beginning to the end, figuring out how much time it was, or starting at the beginning, using a certain time, getting to the end, or looking at the end, using a certain time, going back to the beginning. Okay, we also did questions like these. These would actually be questions that talked about 2 different chunks of time. So this question might read something like, if Sally rode her bike 3 hours and 15 minutes on Saturday and 8 hours and 55 minutes on Sunday, how long did she ride her bike during the weekend? So you're talking about 2 different chunks of time. You're talking about the Saturday time and you're talking about the Sunday time. And they want to know how much time in all. So you would add the 2 chunks of time together. So here we go. 15 minutes plus 55 minutes is 70 minutes. And then 3 hours and 8 hours is 11 hours. You wouldn't go around saying 11 hours and 70 minutes. You would see that 70 minutes is actually another hour. So we're going to take 60 minutes from this side, and that 60 minutes really makes another hour over here. So we're going to take 60 minutes from here and add the hour over there. So 70 minus 60 is your 10 minutes. And then 11 hours plus 1 hour is your 12 hours. So that's how much time she spent riding her bike that weekend. Okay, this question right here would be one that would read something like, if Mike worked on his project 7 hours and 12 minutes on Saturday, and Daniel worked on his project 3 hours and 30 minutes on Saturday, how much longer did Mike work on his project than Daniel? So we would subtract him because we're not wanting to know how much more time Mike spent than the other student. So we'd subtract. Well, 12 minus 30, you can't subtract 12 minus 30. So we have to come over here and borrow. Well, we're not just borrowing any old thing. We're actually borrowing a whole hour. So we bring the whole over here. And in a whole hour, there are 60 minutes. So we're actually borrowing 60. Well, we had 12 to begin with, and we borrowed 60 more, which means now we actually have 72 minutes, which then we can subtract. 2 minus 0 is 2. 7 minus 3 is 4. So we've got 42 minutes right there. And then 6 hours minus 3 hours is 3 hours. So he spent 3 hours and 42 minutes more than this student.